Alright, welcome back everybody, both new and old. Today we're going to be discussing a sketchy topic. I haven't seen any YouTubers talking about this. I think it's one that's worth addressing with some valuable information that you can make decisions in the future with, and that is the process of redundancy. For those that don't know what redundancy is, essentially it's the termination of your employment contract within a country. And so it's of no fault of most people. It's purely based on economic implications. From there, following the redundancy, you'll be given a redundancy severance illustration package. In this video, I'm going to be detailing my own experience with redundancy and furlough. Of course, the furlough came prior to the redundancy. For those that are outside the UK, furlough was essentially a government scheme to retain jobs within the country during the COVID pandemic. However, it's similar to sticking a bandage on a broken shard of glass on a mirror. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just going to fall apart eventually. It's just, you have to actually address these things. It's a complex issue to actually provide a solution to. Now, with myself, I was made to go on the furlough approximately 4 months ago, and there was a risk of losing my job. And so I placed the appropriate measures to combat that and make a negative into an opportunity, in other words, as best as I could. The process of redundancy, I like to think of it as you've got the choice. You've got the choice to fall on a pile of pillows filled with goose feathers, or you've got the choice to fall on a pile of bricks if you don't have the measures in place. Now, in terms of, it's a subjective perspective, because if you were just bang, boom, there you go, you're being made redundant, you don't have the planning available. If you're fortunate enough to listen to this video and there is a chance, then hopefully you can put the correct measures in place prior to that. Now, in terms of the furlough package, it was 80% of your full salary was going to be paid, so 80% total. Now, in terms of that 80%, if you can, let's just use simple numbers, you're getting paid £2,000 a month, right? That's your usual normal wage. In this case, you'd be getting 1,600, and 80% of that would be matched by the government and 20% by the employer, reduce the burden of the economic impact within the business. And so that went on for, it must have been, like I said, 4 months. I've been on this furlough for quite a time. Then afterwards, I was made aware of redundancy in the last few weeks. So like I said earlier, I put the appropriate measures in place, and the solution that I came about to this was relying purely on one job is just not enough. It doesn't give you that security in case something bad happens. Say I get hit by a car, the chances are I'm not going to be able to do my job. You have to actually be at the workplace to do my job. Being that it's in oil and gas and I work as a geologist, very hands-on. And so what I've been doing these last few months is building income streams, both active and passive, in the form of my portfolios, really kind of hammering that out. I mean, I've had my investment stocks and shares ISA portfolios for the last close to 4 years now. Of course, during this pandemic, Tesla rallied heavy and I had a lot of Tesla. So in terms of capital gains, I've made a decent amount of return with that. In the UK, we're given an ISA account. It's similar to a Roth IRA, but it's a lot more generous because you're allowed a lot more capital to be placed in it. You're given £20,000. I believe you guys are given $6,000 US. Now, £20,000 translates to about $25,000 US, and that's how much you can place each year, and that resets every April. And so I had these accounts with my Tesla shares, and the capital gains from there, I was capital gains exempt. I don't pay any tax on any gains I make in the account, which is fantastic. You can think of that as one source of passive. I think people would debate that point because it's not, dividends or anything. But regardless, it was money that was made without me having to do anything about it. That was one pillow that I fell on. The other was getting into peer-to-peer lending in the form of Peerberry account. And so I started that up. I was a bit hesitant at the start, but it ended up being very trustworthy. And so I continued to place money into there. In terms of my active income streams, I started an eBay store and I was just selling off loads of crap that I had laying about the house. That provides me a few £100 every month. Of course, we've got this YouTube. Hopefully in the future, the AdSense from this would be nice. The information that you guys get, you can use it to benefit your own lives. I'm not selling you a package. I'm not doing any. I'm just saying it as it is. Like, I'm not going to say like, comment, subscribe. You can do that if you want. I don't particularly care. After that, the redundancy was announced. So you're given a redundancy severance notice, which is just telling you that your job is at risk of redundancy. Like I said, if they've already made the point that you're redundant, the likelihood you're going to lose your job anyway. The management have already decided. It's followed up by consultations, and it's just a legal process they have to do, giving you a chance to build up a case on why you should keep your job or transfer to a separate department. But like I says, if you're going to get that notice anyway, the chances are you're going to lose your job, yeah, because the management decides these type of things. From what I'm aware, you were given a benefits package, the businesses themselves, for each employee that was continued. Now, in the last few weeks, that was completely cancelled, and so this is why I believe that I'm getting made redundant now, because there's no longer an extreme benefit keeping me on in terms of positive cash flow, because the government was paying £1,000 per employee placed on the furlough scheme. That was completely wiped out. In terms of the actual redundancy severance package here, I'll go over mine just now. Broken down into 3 categories. You're given a redundancy payment, which is essentially 2 years of service in a company. If you haven't worked there for 2 years, you're not going to get it. However, there are 2 more, so stay tuned. The other one is a notice period. You're given 4 weeks of pay based on 4 weeks of notice. So pretty much your whole month's wage is going to be covered in that respect. Now, that's still prone to national insurance and tax. And then afterwards, you're given a holiday pay, which is essentially how much holidays you've accrued over the period since April. And then that's paid based on, I believe it's an adjusted accumulation rate, because everyone that was placed on furlough got their contract slightly adjusted. And so there's 3 categories here that you're going to get a severance package for. With each consultation that you go through, you're going to be given a chance to ask questions. You're going to be given a chance to actually state your case and why you should keep your job. Now, like I said earlier, I don't particularly care that I've lost my job, for the simple reason that I put the right measures in place so I don't get slapped in the face with this in terms of a financial standpoint. Like, I've got money coming in, which is good. However, I was given the opportunity to prep for this. If you're getting told straight up, maybe 1 week's notice, that you're being made redundant without being placed on the furlough, that's a completely different circumstance. And that's something that sucks, but it is what it is. And I suggest you apply for, if you have no other income streams, to go and look at financial aid in the form of job seekers allowance and credits in the form of benefits. Like, you need to eat, but if you're not quite at that level of diety, then definitely don't apply for those things. I would apply for the job seekers allowance regardless. I'm still waiting on a response to that, but in terms of the benefits, you can't really apply for that unless you have less than £16,000 in capital, and this includes like financial securities. This includes pretty much anything in bank accounts. Unless you have less than that, you can't apply for it. Like, for me, I have close to £130,000 in stocks and shares. Of course I can't apply for that. So that's one thing that you need to keep in mind as well. Hopefully I've given you a quick outline of what redundancy, furlough, and everything else involves, given my own detailed explanation on how the process occurred to me. It's going to be different for everyone. It's subjective. It's based on each person. It's based on your relationships. It's based on each business. I suggest if you're going to go out, you go out smiling. Leave on good terms. Do not do anything bad. Do not leave on a negative front, because it's going to come back to bite you. Make the best out of a bad opportunity. Make it into a positive. And I realize that people from all over the world are experiencing economic implications in a negative light right now. If you're in the circumstance that you're going to lose your job, you have to prepare accordingly to that. And what I suggest is multiple income streams to provide that security, like I mentioned earlier. If you don't have that in place, then get working. Yeah, get working. Work your ass off until you manage to get decent income streams that don't involve your main job. Because relying purely on one, how are you going to pay your mortgage if you get hit by a car? How are you going to pay your mortgage if you get struck ill? How are you going to pay your mortgage if another pandemic or something of economic implications actually occurs? Like, how are you going to do this? The answer is multiple income streams. So just work hard at that. Build that up. Hopefully you'll be in the better. Like, the whole point of this YouTube channel is to kind of portray my own ideas and allow for discussion and insight from other people's perspectives to benefit learning, and be very objective in that light. It's not to get emotional. Oh, I bought Neo's great, but you have to critique each stock. Like, I have a lot of Tesla. I know the bads about Tesla, and yet I have close to over 6 figures of it, because I'm happy to listen to other people's contrasting views, because they might know something I don't. There needs to be an openness and a willingness. That's why I love Dave Lee investing. He's probably the best YouTuber on the platform at the moment. There are many others, but Dave Lee, he is the most objective, straightforward guy. So yeah, if you've gained any insight on this so far, I hope you can use that to your advantage. Feel free to slap on that notifications if you are interested in subscribing, and have a nice day. Seriously, have a really nice day. Take it easy. See you later.